Welcome into Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Today on the show is the Falcons offensive line just going to run it back. I appreciate the optimism and the second base becoming a real high priority now for the Braves. Next, Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into this Thursday edition of Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. When you find us, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. Of course, free and available on all your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. Give us a 5-star review there and give me a follow on my personal Twitter page at JMCH316. Well, Falcons training camp continues to roll along. Be looking out tomorrow for some potentially live coverage from training camp up in Flowery Branch, but we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later here. But I had a chance last night to talk to Steve Weish on my radio show. Of course, longtime NFL reporter, NFL Network, does things for AtlantaFalcons.com. Obviously was the Falcons beat writer for the AJC for several years. And we were talking about the offensive line. And, you know, Arthur Smith even talked about 3 of the 5 spots. So 60% of your offensive line is in flux. But here's where I get a little bit concerned. Are the Falcons going to just run it back at offensive line? Are they going to go back with, besides Lindstrom and Jake Matthews, are they going to go back with Mayfield at left guard, Hennessy at center, McGarry at right tackle? I don't think so. I thought Steve's answer to me when I asked him that question was interesting because he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know how much the coaches have faith in everybody's gotten better versus there's enough guys of quality to compete. And I thought about that and I was like, oh boy, okay. Because think about what we're looking at. Okay. Let's take the left guard position, right? Wilkinson, Mayfield, Schaefer, maybe Dolman if he doesn't win center. Okay. Nobody inspires you there. The center position is Hennessy and Drew Dolman. Well, that's, you know that Spider-Man meme, where the Spider-Mans point at one another. That's what Dolman and Hennessy are. They're the same guy. They just wear a different number and, have, a different facial hair growth, right? They're the same guy, though. Right tackle, we've talked about a lot. McGarry, Affetti. Doesn't sound like they're going to give Mayfield a shot out there. So, okay, it's McGarry and Affetti going to compete for that spot. Okay. So, look, the reality is that the options available to you aren't great. Now, do I think that the Falcons are going to run it back as is from last year? That's the question, right? My answer is no. And I'll tell you, I'll rank in order here what I think is going to be the most likely spot to see a change year over year in the starter. We'll talk about that in just a second, but want to mention my friends over at BlueNile.com, your best online jeweler. Listen, you're looking for an anniversary gift, a birthday gift. Maybe you're thinking about getting engaged as we head toward fall here. BlueNile.com is the place to go. Listen, if you're looking for that engagement ring of your dreams, well, they have a great, simple online tool that you can use at BlueNile.com. You can choose the shape, size, clarity of your and setting style of your engagement ring. Perfectly handcrafted, unique, one-of-a-kind item. Maybe you got a birthday, an anniversary. You want just a special gift for that loved one. Experts are on hand 24/7 at BlueNile.com. Talk to one of their jewelry experts, and they will help lead you in the right direction. All of your needs are over at BlueNile.com. You can celebrate those special moments or create new moments. And here's what we got going on right now for our Locked On Sports Atlanta listeners. If you head to BlueNile.com, put together your purchase. On any purchase of $500 or more, you're going to get $50 off simply by using the code LOCKEDON when you get to checkout. LOCKEDON, Locked On when you get to checkout. Use that code for $50 off your $500 or more purchase. Remember, every order is insured, ships free, and going to arrive in that discreet package so she has no idea what's coming in the mail. She probably thinks you bought something on eBay and spending more money you don't have or whatever. But listen, BlueNile.com is the place to go. Shop stress-free. It is for your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com today. So here's where I think that how I'm going to rank where I think the most likely changes are going to happen. I think number one is going to be center. I think Dahlman is going to get that job. And again, it's the Spider-Man meme. I'm not telling you Dahlman's better. I'm not a big fan of either guy at center. I think they're both undersized. They profile out the same way. I had somebody insult my intelligence the day Dahlman was drafted and try to tell me he's Nick Mangold. That person probably should have been blocked on my Twitter page, but I'm nice and I don't do those kinds of things to people or whatever like that. But it's the same guy. But here's the difference. They didn't draft Hennessy. They drafted Dahlman. This regime, I should say. The Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. They drafted Dahlman. They didn't draft Hennessy. If you got the same guy, you probably want the guy that you drafted. So I think he's number one. I think he's going to win that position. Right tackle would be number two. And I don't know that Ifedi is better than McGarry. Maybe. I would tell you maybe McGarry's a little bit better against a run. Ifedi maybe a little bit better against the pass. But again, neither guy is very inspiring. But I think that there is a definite competition, and I think the idea that they did not sign McGarry to his fifth year, did not pick up his fifth-year option, I should say, he's not going to be here next year. I mean, unless he plays at Pro Bowl caliber level, he's not going to be here. I do think that there's a definite chance he could be moved around, but he is a first-round pick with some experience. So we'll see, but I'm not as convinced. But when you talk about the final position at left guard, they're going to run Mayfield back. I don't think there's really any competition for left guard. The only thing I would have said is if they want to give Mayfield a shot at right tackle where he played in college, that might be in the mix for competition and things like that. But if they're lining up Mayfield left guard, I don't think there's really any competition. With all due respect to Justin Schaefer or Dahlman or Wilkinson, there's no real competition there. So, I don't think they're going to run it back. I don't think it's going to be those three guys are going to come back from last year. But we've talked about here, look, that's your big battles in camp. That right tackle spot, to me, is the big domino that has to fall. Because if Ifedi wins that job, I think they're going to cut McGarry. I think they're going to go find themselves another swing tackle to play out there. And then you look at what Dahlman or Mayfield or Hennessy or whatever. I think the domino that falls first is right tackle. That's going to dictate a lot about what this offensive line is going to look like. Now, through all of this stuff, does it mean that the offensive line is going to be better? That's what we care about at the end of the day, right? Again, I'll say, I could care less what the name on the back of the jersey is. Just tell me they're going to be better. I don't know. Here's my answer to, is the Falcons offensive line going to be better? I don't know. And that's the problem, right? Because their offense and everything is going to be dictated. You want to be a power running game? Cool. Tell me you got offensive linemen that can open up holes. You want your quarterbacks to drop back and do some things and get it to receive? Cool. Tell me we can pass block. Because right now I know we can't do much of anything on our offensive line. So, again, in talking to Steve Weish last night, that competition is going to be very interesting. That competition is going to be very intriguing. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, okay? If you run Mayfield and Hennessy back, standing side by side, and just put those two guys out there again for another season, you're not going to see improvement in your offensive line. You're not. I'm not convinced either one of those guys is supposed to be a 17-game starting offensive lineman. And remember, when we talk about offensive line, that's a group that has to be cohesive. That's a group that needs to play together all the time. You're not subbing guys in and out like you are in your defensive line. So I don't think the Falcons in any universe should put Hennessy and Mayfield back, even if that means Dahlman and Mayfield. At least that's different than Hennessy and Mayfield. So are the Falcons going to run it back with those three guys? I don't think so. I don't hope that they do that. But given the competition level and maybe some of the guys they have, they may not have much of a choice in all this. All right, when we come back, I definitely appreciate the optimism. Oh, to be young again, right? And be optimistic about everything. It is Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta.